everyone, it's Rebecca and welcome to my channel, Rebecca Simplified. I love decorating and building houses, as you can see, and The Sims definitely gave me the love for decorating and building houses. So when I'm just bored or surfing on my phone, one of my favorite apps to play is Homescapes because of the decorating aspect. It's definitely not as comprehensive as The Sims is, of course, but it's super fun. So today I am going to be building a mansion from Homescapes. It's a very big build, huge, massive house, and so I'm not actually going to be decorating it this time. I'm just going to be doing the exterior build, and then in my next video I will be decorating the house with the way that I have it decorated in the game. So of course it might not look the same if you play the game, but I will be loading the house undecorated, unfurnished first. So you can definitely download that one if you want, and then just fill it with however you decorated it. But then I'll also be loading it with my furnished house with how I personally have it decorated. So right now this is the front garden, the one that definitely gets the most attention in the game because I love all the little events where you can get all the different decorations for the garden. And I wanted to do the platforms because you could see in the game that it has the raised platform, so I thought I'd play with the new Sims 4 platforms feature. I'm definitely still learning how to use it, so it doesn't look perfect, but it was a lot of fun to try to figure out something new, and I always like the challenge of like, okay, how can I make this look the way that I want it to look? And the fountain that I'm doing is actually from the Japanese garden event in Homescapes, and I really like that one because of the lily pads, and I think it just looks like a really nice centerpiece when I don't have a different event going on. So my garden definitely changes so often because I love completing all the events. And then over here is the garage, and that'll be kind of fun to try to figure out how to make the car fit inside and all of that, and see if I can find the statues, because there are a lot of statues over there. See if I can find any statues that will actually match the statues that are over there, but that'll be in the next video because I think that's kind of part of the decorating aspect of it. I'm using these little pedestals to fill the gap between the platforms and the house. This is a little trick that I actually got from watching Kate Emerald. She's another Sims 4 builder. She's amazing. It's incredible. I doubt I'll ever get to her level, but it's a little trick that I learned from her, and I'm definitely still practicing with it, but I really like the way that it looks. In this part, I am trying to figure out the differing wall heights, because the first floors always have to be the same height, even if they're on different editions of the house. So I'm trying to see what will look best for the house and for this greenhouse. And I'm adding that little flower plant pedestal that's in the middle and adding a little door. So for the greenhouse I tried to get doors and windows that covered as much space as possible because I can't really see the walls. That was another challenge with building this house, is a lot of the walls and a lot of the roof and everything, you can't actually see it in the game. So it's a little bit difficult to know exactly what to do, but it also added a little bit of fun, creativity, like, okay, what do I think it would look like? So the windows and the wall colors for some things added a little bit of a challenge. This fountain area was kind of interesting because the other challenge is you have to make everything you want to make fit within the grid constraints of this Sims 4 lot, which of course is not going to be the same at all for the game versus this game, so you kind of have to like warp and morph things a little bit to meet your needs. And I also had a lot of fun using the rounded platforms to try to get those rounded sides, and that is a little bit difficult because, you know, platforms can't be right up against other things and you can't use it for everything, so it's a little frustrating having to use, you know, sharp corners, sharp degrees when I really just want something rounded, and I just can't. But I did try to use it where I thought I was most capable of using it, and that actually added a lot of spice to it. Something else I was thinking was, I did for some places, you'll see later, just adding a lot of tiny rocks to make a rounded look of a path's edge, but I just don't have the patience for that sort of thing. I'm sure a lot of you do, so feel free to take that idea and run with it. I just, that's a whole lot of patience there, and I think it looks just as nice to have like a little white fence border. And then just add some plants, and maybe you won't even see the edge of the fence. I'll be adding the plants and all the exterior decorations, including the foliage, in the next video for the house decorating. And that one actually might even take 2 separate videos itself, because it always takes me a lot longer to decorate than it does to build it. Or at least I have more fun building it, so it feels like it takes longer decorating. This part I had a lot of fun trying to figure out, how do you make that second platform that's just an overhang while still, you know, being able to fit stuff under, no platforms, and how are the stairs gonna fit. These stairs actually worked out better than a lot of the other stairs, because the other annoying thing is you can't put Sims 4 stairs on a diagonal, and that actually gives me a lot of grief when I'm building sometimes, but it's definitely interesting to try to finagle things to make it look exactly how you do want it to look. I actually just discovered these little stones in the show hidden objects, or the show live edit objects. I got into watching other build videos when that's when I started getting the idea that it would be a lot of fun for me to make some build videos. And I saw a lot of people using those stones, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so useful. Like, I never even knew that those were there. And for here, this is what I was kind of talking about with adding little stones in the pathways. You can see that when you're inside, it adds a shadow for the size of the original rock. I decided that I would leave it and see what it looked like after I added the foliage and everything else around it, see if those shadows stayed or if they got kind of covered up. But if they don't, I might just get rid of those stones and add a fence border instead. But I'm leaving it for now, even though there's big, ugly, dark shadows, but I'm hoping those can get fixed in the next episode, video. So I'm hoping that I can actually leave that. The other fun thing here was trying to figure out the exact shape of the house while also making sure that I have enough room inside the rooms and enough space to keep going backwards on the lot, because we do have, if you do get really far in the game, like I've completed this first mansion and I'm actually on the mountain cabin, the one with Tom and Lessie. I am able to actually do this complete full house. I know what all the rooms look like, so if you're not there yet, and you don't want to have those rooms spoiled for you, then this might be not be the best video, because I am definitely going to be showing all of the rooms. Well, this one's probably okay, because I'm not going to be decorating the rooms. You don't really know what those rooms are, but you will see things like the wallpapers and the flooring and stuff like that, and the shape of the room for sure. But if you don't want any surprise ruined, I totally understand that. I wouldn't I wouldn't want surprises ruined either. These staircases were really hard because they are supposed to be curved, and it looks absolutely beautiful in the game, but you can't really curve them in The Sims. And if you do know how, that's something that I would absolutely love to know, or if you know how to make staircases on a diagonal, I'd love to know that. So please drop a comment or anything, and I am very open to suggestions and learning new things. So if you have any constructive criticism about any of my builds, I would be so happy to hear it. I always want to learn new things, and it's always so much more fun if you can do extra little special things that you had no idea that you were even capable of doing. That's the really fun thing about The Sims, is I never stop learning how to do cool things, like how to manipulate objects, how to manipulate the scenery to make it look how I want it to look, and make it look more realistic and lifelike. And when I discovered the Move Objects cheat, that took way longer than it should have, but when I discovered that, it changed everything for me with all my builds. And I definitely grow and learn with every house that I make. And I like to upload house tours for old houses I did, I was really proud of, but as I'm recording them, I'm looking at them like, wow, I have really improved. I wish, like, maybe I should go back and edit these and decorate them with better skill that I have now, but I absolutely love building new projects, so the likelihood of me going back to an old project is pretty slim, but I would love to be able to update some old houses that I was always really proud of that I've learned new and better things now. I had a lot of fun with the staircase area. Is one of the more complicated flooring areas of this house, and it was a lot of fun to try to figure out how that worked. And it was kind of the same thing with the roof. You'll see later, and I kind of build slowly as I'm going. Like, you can't actually see the roof of this house in the game, so that was 100% my creative prerogative. So you'll see how I kind of worked that out. But right now I'm just kind of building the inside walls. And the other thing that I had to figure out was, in the game, you'll have the first floor, and then you'll go up the second floor, and everything under that second floor, you have no idea what's in that room. You'll never see it. It's just completely hidden. So I had to figure out, like, how am I going to handle this? And so what I did was I just lifted a big empty space, and I'm not really going to put in any doors to go in there. I know that there are a couple doors that do go in there, but it's a big empty space. I don't want my Sims just going in there and hanging out for no reason with nothing in there. Not that they really would, I suppose, if they're automated, but to me, it's just a lot of space that they have that, I don't know, I don't like it when they have access to unusable space, so I just kind of block it off for them. But there are definitely, like, places you can add a door and use that space and fill it however you want, but it is a lot of empty space, and I don't even know what you would fill it with. But it definitely adds to the size of the house, that's for sure, because this is a monster of a house. It is huge, I have discovered. So I had to use one of the 64 size lots in Brindleton Bay. I actually really liked the 64 lot in Brindleton Bay because you can see the ocean in the background just like you can in the Homescapes house. There's another 64 lot in the, I can't remember what it's called right now. It's the Hollywood one, the Del Sol Valley, that's the one. And that one was really nice, but it didn't have the ocean in the background, so it wasn't quite the same aesthetic that I was hoping for the background. And this Brindleton Bay one was just perfect. And the next thing that I kind of had to figure out was what rooms had windows, where were those windows, what do those windows look like, but also how is that going to look on the outside of the house? Because the app itself doesn't really care if the windows match. It doesn't really care how the windows look on the outside because you don't see the outside of the house, you only see the inside of the house. So I had to kind of make my own adjustments there. Not all the windows are in the exact right spot. I did my best, but they're not all in the exact right spot, and they don't all look the way they're supposed to look. These windows, I had the luxury of using windows that I think do look the way they're supposed to look, but a lot of the other windows, because I feel like, you know, in a house with this style, it should match. This back porch gave me a ton of grief. I tried to make a third floor porch, but for some reason I wasn't able to put items and objects on it. And I have no idea why. I took ages and hours trying to figure it out, and I ended up cutting that part out because it was just like 10 minutes, even sped up, of me just trying to figure out how to make it work, and I rage quit playing. That's why it took a long time for me to get another video out since my last one. Just trying to figure out why none of this was working, and I couldn't. So in the end I decided it was best to just do a second floor porch, which actually in the end kind of worked out because it's not like you can see the porch underneath in the actual game. Not there actually is one. So I've noticed in the game they actually have a hill going up the side of the house so that the front of the house is on lower ground and the back of the house is on higher ground. So they don't actually have all these extra floors and stories and porches that I'm gonna have. And I actually tried to do that, but it ended up making it a little bit difficult for making these porches because it was just glitching out and I didn't know how to fix it, and so I just ended up undoing it and putting everything on the regular ground and working with the backyard that way. And it also looks better now when I added, as you saw, I added a pool as the beginning of the lake that they can put their boat in. And it looks a lot better being on the flat ground aligned with the house than it did on the elevated ground. But it was also definitely fun trying to figure out how to make this giant staircase going from this wall reach all the way to the ground. So I did kind of like a fire escape type look, and I think it turned out pretty well. This side house was also another interesting project because of that little diamond in the that I'm building there, in the floor in the upstairs, and I actually took a couple times of me looking at it to figure out exactly how to do it, so I'm going to be coming back to that a couple more times and adding stairs. And you can't really see that back room where those stairs are, so I just made a little alcove area where those stairs are that lead up to the second floor, because that is the floor that this room starts on. You can see the stairs that lead up to this guest room, but you don't actually know what's on the first floor. And this little back area was interesting. As you can see, I'm about to build that little cellar area that they have there. You can't ever actually go down in it, so I didn't think it was necessary to actually build a basement because I don't know how I would decorate it. So I just put this cute little window that just a mound of earth there that kind of resembles the door that they have without actually being a functional door. The kitchen windows were a little bit tricky too because I had to guess how much space I actually had. So I started picturing, okay, this is where the fridge is going to go, this is where the counters are going to go. I don't know if I actually have enough space, and sometimes if I'm not exactly sure how to do something, I go finish another project and then come back to something else. As you can probably tell, I don't just stick with one room and finish it before I go off to the others. I go around and add little details here, add little details there. And part of that's because when I'm building and I get an idea, I'm like, oh, I can't forget that I wanted to do this. I might forget if I don't do it now. So I go stop, I go do that thing, and then I come back to what I was doing before. Or I get totally distracted and never go back to it for quite some time. So right now I'm just kind of working on the boathouse and the dock that I have back there. And that boat's just a tiny toy boat for kids that I enlarged to a really big size. So hopefully nobody tries to play with it, because that would be really silly to see. And actually, I thought this fence for this porch was amazing because I used a gold one that had like the little gold gargoyles on it. And if you can see, you zoom in on the fence, that fence does have like little gargoyles. They're smaller than in the game, but they're there, and I thought it was really neat that like, oh, they actually have a fence that worked out really well. And I get really happy when I'm trying to build replicas and actually looks the same way in the game that it does in The Sims, and it's always really exciting. So that was a nice moment for me. And here I'm trying to build that little garage area, and that's the part that has like those little red rollers within the roller gate area for the car. And I was just like, okay, just put some red flooring down and it'll look kind of cute. This area, I actually tried that little rock thing that I did inside before, and that's how I confirmed, okay, those shadows is not a size of a rock issue, it's just an indoor rock issue. Because I'm doing it here outside, making that little curved fence, and it looks totally fine, totally great. And I was really happy with the way that turned out. I'm trying to figure out all the different like flooring and like how that works. And there's like a little pond here, but I tried to use that little fairy pond, but when I shrunk it, it definitely left a huge hole where it should have been, and there are just some items that you can't shrink, and that's a little bit disappointing. But I tried to make it work with an actual fountain, and then just add a bunch of foliage and stuff to it separately. So I'm adding a couple of pedestals, trying to make that look nice. Kind of like the pedestals that are in the fountain in the actual game. And this way I was actually able to add the wood platform that goes around it, which is a nice touch to it. I couldn't find a little rock with a turtle on it like they do in the game, but I thought a bunny would be just as cute. Bunnies are actually one of my favorite animals. I think they're just about the cutest animals on this entire planet. Don't tell that to my cats. So here I'm just making that little path that they have going off to nowhere. In the game it does a little bit annoy me that there are some things, part of the lands, that they don't actually fix up. They don't do all the landscaping. They made the whole house look run down. When you finish, it doesn't look completely not run down. And I added that little spa from the Snowy Escape expansion instead of adding another fountain, because I was like, well, I have so many fountains, so many rock pools that just don't do anything. I want one that'll actually do something. So this is one that they're going to be able to use, and it's a nice little difference in aesthetics there. The other thing with the side garden was I did run out of space, and at this point I couldn't just change the whole house to give me a little bit more space on the side yard, so there's definitely going to be a little bit of difficulty when building the side garden, adding the benches and stuff like that, but I think it'll turn out looking really well. No matter what happens, it's going to look really good. And what's happening here was there was a bit of a glitch out with the platforms that surround the outdoor stairs. One of the walls wouldn't get painted, and that was kind of annoying. So that was me trying to figure out a solution, and I did eventually get it, and I was actually really proud of myself in that moment. It was super fun. And this part was really fun too, trying to build that front fountain. It'll be interesting trying to find some statues that Lau always wants to take in, and Andy always wants to paint pink, and maybe I can find some pink statues and just make that a little Easter egg here in the game. In Austin's bedroom, there was actually the perfect wallpaper. You can see I put that green one on first. It was perfect because it had the squares just like Austin's actual bedroom, but it only came in green and red and not in blue like his walls, so I decided that the color was a little bit more important than the pattern. I went with the blue wallpaper instead, but I was really upset because the green one was just so perfect in design. In this kitchen, you can see I tried really hard to get that swoopy pattern that the kitchen has, but of course you can only do those sharp angles, and that's a little bit disappointing. And I hope that they'll come out with a fix or some kind of expansion that allows you to do curved floor, because that, I think, it just looks really cool, and it stinks when you have to put everything on an angle. And sometimes when I build things, that it deletes other things, so I had to rebuild the stairs there. I didn't notice that something I had done had deleted them before. And I'm trying to find something that fits into that little shower area. This one I did actually put a door to a no area room, and I think at that moment it was because the aesthetics of having that double door there was more important than not being able to access that room. So I do a lot of deciding, like, okay, I don't want it to be like this, but what's more important, having it look the way it's supposed to look, or having it function the way that I want it to function? And in this case, the function wasn't particularly important. It was just something that I liked, you could say. But it is in the fun part. I always love designing the wallpapers and stuff, especially if I'm trying to match it to something, because it's like, okay, what can I find? What can I look at? And it's really nice that The Sims 4 has a color filter. And you can change the color filter so you don't have to look at every single wallpaper. You can look at just the ones that are the color that you are looking for. And that was really nice. For this one, I did use a carpet instead of a wood flooring, but the carpet had the pattern that the wood floor in the game has, and I was like, okay, you know what, that's actually really cool. You're not really going to be able to tell from a distance that it's not wood, so in my head, I'm just kind of pretending. This dance room was fun. I was actually looking really forward to building this stage, because I know that it has those 2 platforms, and seeing if I could get 2 platforms to work. And I was able to, but the second platform wasn't able to have as much space as the first platform, because you can't overlap with that rounded part, and that rounded part of the platform takes up a lot more space than you would normally think. So that's as big as I was able to get the second platform, but we'll see if I'm able to actually fit stuff on it, because if I'm not, I will just take it off, because fitting stuff on it is a little bit more important, and I want everything in my builds to be functional and usable, and if they're not able to get to things, then I've got to figure out another way to make it so that they can use everything. So that's always important to me, to make sure that it's useful. So I have actually built Austin, Catherine, and his parents, and they're going to be in the second video, because I need to make sure that with using the Move Objects cheat, I can actually use them. So they need to be there while I'm building so that I can go into live mode every now and then and make sure, okay, is this usable, is this not? And this room was a lot of fun to make, but it was also really hard because, again, I haven't put the stuff down, so I don't know how much space I need for each quadrant of the room. So right now, I'm just basing it off of, okay, how does it look? How does it look like I'm gonna need stuff? And I think in a lot of areas of this room, it's gonna be too big, and there's going to be a lot of empty space, and in other areas of the room it's going to be a little bit cramped. So I might have to change that up in the next video and see what I can do with that. But for now, I think it actually looks really nice, and I'm hoping that adding stuff to this house is not going to ruin everything. Now I'm just adding little finishing touches with the platforms, and voila! Thank you for watching. You can definitely download this mansion on the Sims 4 gallery. My gallery ID is Raebaekae. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!